looking at the ventilation. Where's it going to? All the molecules of oxygen.
Time for another Race to a Million Participant Spotlight. I'm Dean, sitting down with Mickael Maddison. Mickael, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Good. Mickael, as you know by now, is a hardworking member of Team Genie, and he's another one of those personalities involved in the Race to a Million that we thought you might like to get to know a little bit better. Another guy that wears a few different hats. You are the owner of
Silver Servers.
Silver Servers is a web hosting company?
Web hosting and development.
And you've been running that show for...
Basically, the story is I started in the industry in '97,
Mm-hmm.
and Silver Servers is my latest incarnation of that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been around since I believe 2003.
All right. Not only the owner and operator of Silver Servers, but you play the very important role of dad and husband too.
Yes, I have 3 beautiful children,
Mm-hmm.
all girls, so it's going to be an interesting future.
Okay.
And yeah, I've been married 6.5, 7 years. So.
All right. What's your wife's name? I've never met her.
Kim.
Kim?
Yeah.
Cool. She must have the patience of an angel to put up with a guy like you, working in the tech industry and working in the rock world too. He's a rock god too, you know. He does a lot of performing under the name of Mickael Maddison.
That's right.
Let's talk about that. Drill down a little bit into the world of music.
The world of music is a wonderful place to be.
Uh-huh.
It's I started into the industry by accident. I've always been a guitar player. I've always, played in my basement singing songs or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Sometimes for family and friends, but most of the time just for myself and my wife and kids, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2005, I decided to record a CD to share with them. So I'm sitting there, I'm recording this CD, and I hear this thing on, I'm listening to the river, and they're saying they're looking for some local music.
Mm-hmm.
Thought, what the heck? I'll send them a song and see what happens.
Sure.
I get a reply back. Hey, we want to put this on the air. Oh. Okay.
You're kidding, right?
Like, no, this isn't real.
Uh-huh.
So I go in and I meet with them, and they say, hey, we like this. Put the CD in. They start airing 2 of the tracks, and I'm thinking, I better do something. I mean, if I'm getting airplay, I should release this as a real CD.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. I went and bumped up the effort, and I turned it into my first debut EP, and it's called Free.
Free.
And it has 6 songs, and 2 of them have received a lot of airplay, but some of the songs have received airplay as far away as Ireland, New York, and places like this. So.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Mickael was just talking about getting introduced to the river. I didn't know until just recently that he was the same Mickael Maddison that we debuted, because I used to be a morning show host on the river. It's a local FM station here in the city of Kamloops,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of put 2 and 2 together. I'm a little slow, us old radio guys.
Well, you listen to so much music, and I mean, you're busy doing other things
Yeah.
in between. So.
But it was really cool to kind of, there's the guy, of
That's right.
course. And you love getting out there and doing the performing thing too.
That was quite an interesting thing. So basically, the river has been a really good supporter of me, and actually the local stations, all of them have supported me really well.
Mm-hmm.
But the river got me started really with that whole thing. And my first performance ever was for the Rivers Family Fun Festival.
That's right.
I had never performed as a singer or a guitar player in front of a crowd before, and I get this email saying, hey, we'd really like you to come and play at our Family Fun Festival. And I'm thinking, oh my.
In front of like real people?
In front of real people, and they're
Mm-hmm.
saying, yeah, we get up to about 30,000 people, and I'm thinking, I've never played in front of 10 people. Okay.
Sure, why not?
So I got some of the guys that helped me on the recording together, and we formed a live band, and we did it, and it was cool.
What was that like, walking out on the stage for the first time and having, several thousand people there in front of you? The butterflies going a little bit?
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
Uh-huh.
The first time I was incredibly nervous, and I had no idea what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And the hilarious part is it was 40 degrees that day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, normally when you get down to Riverside Park and you're standing at the band shell and the crowd's in front of you, it's really cool. Like, you can see them. I've played there since and had that. But
Right.
40 degrees,
Yeah.
everyone off under the trees hiding.
Mm-hmm.
There were lots of people there listening and watching,
Mhm.
but if there wasn't shade, they weren't sitting there.
Mhm.
So it was a really weird experience to have your first show with a little group of people in front in the shade and everybody else standing in the trees in the distance.
Uh-huh.
And you're kind of going,
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do with this crowd.
Is it something I said? Or, yeah.
That was pretty clear, but I mean, I understood what was going on. But
And now you're doing lots of, I see you playing downtown at different events. And
yeah, I think I've played, 50 to 100 shows since. I can't remember. I've lost count.
pubs and clubs.
Pubs and clubs and lots of different kinds of festivals. And Canada Day, I frequently play down at the park, which is cool, and it's a great time down there.
Nice. And you're working on a new album. Tell us about it.
Well, first I'll say I've got a second CD that came out. It's called In Loving Misery, and that happened in 2008.
In Loving Misery, I love it.
Yeah, it's actually, the subject matter, there's a lot of sad stuff in there because I had lost my father, and that was kind of the theme to my album, was what I was going through with all that.
Right.
And there's a song that actually has his voice in it, the last recording of his voice.
Wow.
Because he was working on the road, and what happened is he was driving home, and he was taking notes on his voice recorder.
Okay.
And then, you know, he puts it down or whatever, and he fell asleep at the wheel.
Oh, no.
And he crashed and he died. And I had his voice recorder, and I thought, this is the last thing he ever said. I wrote a song about the whole situation.
Wow.
So I put it in there.
That must have been a tough experience.
That was a really hard thing to record and do.
Yeah.
And I really like the song, and it's really touched a lot of friends and family that knew my father, of course, because it really touched on what happened that day. It can be a hard song to play sometimes, even now, like after I'm used to playing it and all that kind of stuff. Every once in a while when I'm live, I get a little choked up, but
Yeah. What's the name of the single?
the single, that song is called Shadows.
Shadow.
Yeah.
And your dad's name?
Gary.
Gary.
Light in your eyes is always warming, and it stings my feet in memories. Where will I find you?
So if anybody liked that sound or would maybe like to explore some more Mickael Maddison music, you're available on iTunes. EP and second album available on iTunes?
Both of them are on iTunes. You can find them by searching just for Mickael Maddison, and if you do that, you can search for my first name only, Mickael, M-I-C-K-A-E-L, or you search by Maddison, M-A-D-D-I-S-O-N, and either of those should pull me up.
And you were sharing a story the other night about how popular your albums have been on iTunes. There was some kind of...
Yeah, actually, the first CD has done quite well on iTunes. I'm amazed. I have one song that's called Blowing in the Wind, and it's a really soft, mellow song that it's actually based off a poem, and it's a romantic song.
Okay.
And I am astounded at how many people have downloaded that on iTunes. It's one of those songs that, for me, it's a nice song. It's not my favorite song.
Right.
And I thought When I'm Free or Drink would be the top downloads on iTunes, but no, Blowing in the Wind. People really like that one. And
That happens so long. In my days in radio, I can't count how many times I would talk to artists that would say, you know, we were so surprised this was the last song that we threw together on the album, and it turned out to be the biggest hit, or, you know, it's the one that we hate to play the most for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that sometimes are the most commercially successful.
Exactly. Well, it's like on my second CD, I've got a song called Sweet Misery. And when I was recording it, like, the whole song is a little bit of a spoofy relationship song. You know, it sounds very serious, but it's actually kind of humorous at the same time. And I was shocked when local station 98.3 CIFM, they picked up that song and they played it like crazy. And I was just like, people really like this?
Right.
And the more I heard it on the radio, the more I heard how it fit and made sense. But when you're sitting there and you're writing a song or recording it, you have no idea what other people are going to hear in
That's
it.
right,
You know?
yeah.
Like, you do your best, but I was surprised, and I'm pleasantly surprised, of course, because that song has actually had a lot of momentum too on the second CD. I've had that on radio shows all over the place. Actually, that was played in New York.
Cool.
So
we got a rock star here on the Race to a Million. All right, so the EP is out on iTunes, the second album is out on iTunes, the third effort is up and running. How's that coming along? What's the dealio?
It's great. I'm finished the first song. I'm just getting it off to my producer, and he's going to finish mastering it for me. And it's called Insufferable.
Ah, yes.
And it's you've heard it.
Yeah.
Actually, you've heard it. We played it here, and I think people are going to really like it. I've played it a couple times live acoustically, and I've had, you know, females mostly stop and listen to the song because it really has that something that attracts the female kind of crowd. And
so Insufferable, cut number one, mixing that down. How many singles are you planning on bringing together for the album? And have you got a working title for the album yet?
I don't. I'm not working on an album per se. Nowadays, what happens when you're releasing music, a lot of people are releasing single by single. And it's a tough thing, but people aren't buying CDs the way they used to. They're buying downloads.
Right.
And so releasing an album isn't always the best plan. So
I'm dating myself, aren't I?
no, actually, it's changing right now.
Yeah.
So it's right in front of us right now. That's not dating.
My son's 18 years old, and I remember when he was like around, I don't know, 5 or 6. My wife and I were cleaning out the garage, and I've got like 2,000 or 3,000 vinyl albums from back in the day. And it really struck me as we were cleaning up and doing the family thing. He looked at a record and said, "What's that?" And, you know, as an old nightclub DJ, spinning vinyl and in radio, that's what we did. We spun vinyl. it was such a kick in the side of the head to have the younger generation say, "What is that?" And I thought, well, you know what? He's never seen that. He's never seen an 8-track, probably never even seen a cassette. And you know, as you correctly identify, now it's all about the digital downloads, and the album, I'm sad to say, is going away.
Yeah, it will come back. I think what's going to happen is people are getting used to the single downloads and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But what's going to happen over time is people are going to realize that there's a value to the album. Because when you sat down and you listened to an album in the day, you had an emotional experience from start to finish. And I remember being young and wanting that experience and listening to a cassette or to a CD and going through the entire thing, and at the end of it, you're just like, wow. Whereas if you sit down and you listen to one song, you get a good feeling, but it's not the same as an album.
So many of the albums, you know, 60s, 70s albums, they were all themed.
Exactly.
They'd have the same thing. The entire album from front to end would tell a story, and you'd take one of the pieces out, and the whole thing didn't work. You know, Pink Floyd's The Wall is one that comes to mind, you know. So, we'll see how
it goes. But for now, I'm going to try out this single release kind of thing, because one of the things with my style that I find interesting is, you know, I'm not on a major label and all that kind of stuff, which I'm actually thankful for. And I explore styles. So basically, you know, I'm in the rock genre. I play lots of rock, some of it straight up, some of it in various angles of rock. But I really don't care about trying to fit any specific genre, because I'm not trying to please a producer and all these kinds of things.
You're the Mickael Maddison genre.
Well, that's just it. And, you know, if I have a song that touches on a hint of country, I'll try it. If I have a song that's heavy metal, I'll try it. If I have a song that's somewhere in between, and I've got a trick song coming up in the future here, it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to touch on a genre that I've got no experience in, and it's going to be interesting. But that's the benefit of doing the single release, is that I can just go through each song, find out what best fits it, and go through to fruition.
So when are we going to be able to download Insufferable on iTunes?
Well, I can't really talk about that yet.
Okay.
There's some secrets there.
All right. A lot of secrets around your career, a lot of secrets around Team Genie these days. Gosh darn it, we gotta start getting some more details out of these guys. Mickael Maddison. Look it up on iTunes. Mickael, thanks for sitting down and, you know, kind of pulling the curtain back and letting us get to know you a little bit better. And who knows, maybe as a result of this, some more folks will be listening to your tunage and looking forward to
I sure hope so.
Upcoming releases. Mickael Maddison in the Race to a Million Participant Spotlight this week. Another hard-working Team Genie member.